General Secretary of the Social Workers Union, also executive member of the GFTU and member of the Coalition Against Chemical Weapons in Kurdistan, John McGowan. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, thank you, Erem. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So let's start with the situation in Kurdistan. You just came back from the trip to the Kurdistan, being someone who is new to the Kurdish issue. What has been your overall perspective based on your learning and observations from the trip to Kurdistan?
Yeah, thanks for that, Erem. It's a good question, and one of the reasons why I wanted to go on the trip is because I had basic knowledge, but not an enhanced knowledge, and because I represent my union, I'm the head of the union. I felt that I really wanted to have more knowledge about the Kurdish issues. I was aware of the 2005 constitution, and I was also aware of the the decades of political and perhaps military efforts to secure self-rule by the Kurdish people. So I had a good understanding there. But I think what my enhanced knowledge really sort of created was just the country from Syria in the west to Iran in the east and Iraq in the south and right through to Turkey. So I think I was really wanting to get a perspective of that. And again, one of the biggest learning opportunities for me was to look at the Turkey situation and the allegations that they were carrying out illegal war and occupation in Kurdistan. And again, that was really global silence. I mean, I'd heard very little about it until I looked into it. So again, that was one of the my main learning and observations from the trip.
Thank you. Who did you meet on the trip, and was that meetings particularly, do you think they are useful?
Yeah, no, I think it's like all these trips, Erem. I mean, they're so busy, but they're also so insightful as well. And I'm always grateful for organisations to give up their time. And I think, based on memory, we met with the Kurdish human rights organisations. We had meetings with the non-government organisations, particularly in Halabaja, and we had meetings with the Christian peacemakers team. In fact, they were really insightful because they gave a good overview of the Turkish situation, and they also presented clear evidence of what's going on. So the CPT team was useful. Again, it was a busy trip, and we met with community leaders, we met with politicians right across the political spectrum, and of course, another important part was meeting with the families of the detained political prisoners and also prisoners who had been recently released. Again, it's amazed how much you fit in a visit. But we also met with ANFIL survivors. We met with Kurdish families affected by the Turkish invasion and occupation. So that was it's quite a broad spread of our contacts when we were there. And again, it was a lot of knowledge to take in and absorb. So a very useful spread of information.
Thank you. In Kurdistan Parliament, you met with the key politicians as well from a number of political parties. Did you feel the political parties listened to the concerns you expressed in there?
Yeah, so Erem, I'll answer that quite simply. The answer is no, but I'll explain why. So, my basic answer is no. They listened, but they didn't take anything on board. But we met with the PUK, the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, and we also met with the KDP, the Kurdistan Democratic Party, and we met them in the regional parliament. And again, they were a good host. They looked after us and they listened carefully to what we presented. And we also met with a couple of independent politicians as well. But again, I suppose I said no, they didn't listen. But the PUK claimed to, in their own narrative, if you listen to them, they always opposed Turkey's war. But again, that's contradicted by their own actions, and we had a chance to question them on that, including, why have they detained more than 50 anti-war activists, and why are they calling, firing on peace and protesters? That again, we presented that evidence, but again, they denied. The meeting with the KDP, again, they responded by denying there was any military occupation or anything had taken place. And again, we presented the evidence that was absurd, really, because we had evidence that Turkish armed forces had been admitting the attacks, but again, that was left with with silence. So just to recap, the meetings were very positive and they were very welcoming, but I don't think they listened to any of the issues we presented and denied anything that we presented to them. So
Thank you. You represent the General Federation of the Trade Union and the Social Workers Union as well. How do you propose promoting the key Kurdistan issue as a part of wider trade union agenda?
yeah, so again, like every trade union and organisation, we have an international section. So again, much of what is happening in Kurdistan, I mean, I'm preaching to the converted, but it violates international law. Yet the impact of the conflicts on people's lives also remains very quiet, and it's unnoticed by the majority of trade unions. Some unions, like ourselves, we want to enhance our knowledge. So again, I'm hoping that the wider trade union agenda will start to listen to these concerns. And again, I would like to raise these issues with my own union members, but also with the GFTU members at a local, a regional, and a global awareness. And so again, it's what I'm planning to do. I could talk about the kind of steps that we're thinking about if that's useful, Erin.
Yes, exactly. Please, the what else needs to be done? We have to underline that as well. So, what are your next steps, campaigns, and actions will be after your visit and observations in the Kurdistan?
Yeah, so we've come up with quite an enhanced plan, and some of them might be achievable in the short term, but some of them might take a bit longer. So, for example, we're hoping to continue to engage with all the campaigns and share the message of what's happening in your country, because that's really important that we share that message, particularly to individuals and organisations who don't know what's going on. We want to try arrange a future meeting with the all party parliamentary group, and that's the UK Parliament. So that's called the APPG group. And we also want to try put pressure on the British consulate, again, raising the issues of what's going on. One of the plans we're looking at, and it might not take off, but we're hoping to maybe have a summer conference in London. We're hoping to have action at The Hague in the OPCW, regarding the use of chemical weapons. One of the ideas we're thinking about is maybe creating a pamphlet for trade unions and maybe a further report. Again, I would like to try create a motion in my trade union to give support. Another idea would be to have a stall at future TUC, that's the overall action body for trade unions in the UK, and maybe put pressure on the labour conferences to make them aware. Other options is to have a fringe meeting and do some media work as well. And really, principally, what we want to do is build solidarity with a wider organisation network and to create that pressure. So you can see there's quite a lot of actions. I think some of them are quite easy to achieve in the short term, but they might need some more planning in the longer term, Erem.
Thank you. You made a very good point for the future next steps as well. And lastly, what has been your learning about Turkey's invasion of Kurdistan and the use of the chemical weapons as well?
Yeah, so again, the whole situation was very new to me, and that was why I was really wanting to go on the trip. But I've learned so much about the how Turkey has bombarded the Iraqi Kurdistan, especially around about the Duhok province. And again, I was shocked to find that that's been taking place for nearly a year, despite, apart from some newspapers like the the Morning Star, other UK media outlets have not even touched that story. So there's been a global science, and that's despite clear evidence and also the accusations of chemical attacks. So I think for I think for me that it's been a key learning around that issue. I'm also horrified that you've got an organisation like the OPCW, which is the Organisation for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, and other world bodies, and they've refused to send anyone to investigate further. And that's despite all the evidence that there's a clear belief that chemicals have been used. So I think it's a real concern that you've got the OPCW refusing to engage and accept that. I think also that the overall learning and the overall factor for me around about the learning of the Turkey's invasion is that how they've managed to get away with it without a national outcry. And I think that for me has been a point I will take away. And having listened to some of the stories and some of the presentations about the situation, I think it needs some urgent action.
General Secretary of the Social Workers Union and also executive member of the GFTU and member of the Coalition Against Chemical Weapons in Kurdistan, John McGowan. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for your valuable comments today.
Thank you, Erem. Solidarity, and keep up the good work. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.